feel like it's very important that we touch on subjects where we can be vocal about it.
Like, what do you
Yeah.
actually would want to like gain from us doing this?
Honestly, I guess just to simplify it is just closure.
If y'all want gossip, y'all want drama, go watch, the Kardashian show. Go watch that, the Mormon show where all those Mormon moms are friends but not really. Go watch Love Island. Go ahead and go do yourself that favor and
Yeah.
go do that.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Dan, and I'm here with my longtime friend Ale, and welcome to the Breaking Bread podcast. Today, we're going to explain a little bit of who we are, the purpose of this podcast, and what we aren't. Ale, would you like to take it away?
Well, I'm Alejandro Delgado, full legal name. For some of y'all that didn't know me, for those that do, uh, I currently am wrapping up my bachelor's degree. I have another podcast that I part time do. I need to get back on it more. I'm slacking. Local
It's
Bulls
okay.
fan. Love talking about basketball. Love the Bulls, even though they don't love me back.
Bro.
I'm he, no, not on bro. Well, yeah, I'm bro. I'm bro. It's sad, but anyway, that's not what we're here for. I'm just starting off this podcast with Dan where we breaking bread. We eventually want to break bread for real. Grab a concha and
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Bro.
But we know there's a lot of things we want to talk about that we felt was very important, and hold dear to our hearts. We'll
Mm.
get into that more. Right now, I'm gonna have Dan, explain who he is and just basic things like a basic introduction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no. So my name is Dan, or my legal name, Daniel. And I am a first generation student. I finished with a bachelor's in social work, currently in my first steps of a career job. And like Alice said, we're just trying to find like a little part time gig of, you know, being able to share with all of you, our experiences. And hopefully, this podcast is something that we can definitely bridge to having more conversations, more specifically on the topic of religion. Ale, would you kind of explain as to like what the purpose of this podcast is, just a little bit, and what our
Yeah,
motives are?
yeah. Um, so not religion in the sense of we're gonna be breaking down theology and stuff like that, but more so of
Mhm,
everyone's life experience. Everyone's encountered church one way or another, whether you currently
mhm,
believe in God or you don't. And we just want to expand on that, like how it's impacted our lives, other people's lives in positive and also negative ways. Like we just want to be able to start that dialogue because we see there's not
mhm,
really a space in that, and there's times we just catch each other just talking, rambling on about it, like, hey, this would be good on a podcast, and
mhm.
we're actually trying to follow through with it.
Bro, yeah, right. We're not trying to be slackers here. uh,
Oh yeah, I'm already slacking off one podcast. I can't be
I
slacking on
know.
two. It's
It's okay.
crazy.
That's why we're here. We're keeping each other accountable as best as possible.
I hope so.
uh, but yeah, just to kind of branch off a little bit what Alice said, myself and he, we grew up in a church setting. We came from a religious background. And so pretty much from the time that we were kids, adolescents to, entering adulthood, we've had some type of exposure to what it was like within a church setting or even an at home setting when it came to religious practices, faith, beliefs, and stuff like that. And so for us, we kind of felt like, hey, there's a lot of different things that we've seen firsthand and even conversated with other people that are close with us who have also experienced some type of like challenge or some type of barrier while practicing that religion or that, faith or anything like that. And so we felt like, kind of like Alice said earlier, it's a lot of things that are not talked about. And we definitely want to take the chance to be able to shed a light on a lot of those different topics. And so the next question is, what we aren't in this podcast. And Ala, do you mind kind of explaining a little bit more on what
Yeah,
we aren't?
yeah. This one is like the most important to me out of all the questions. This
It
one is
is.
like, I hold near and dear to my heart.
Bro.
We are not self-proclaimed pastors, YouTube preachers.
Hmm.
We do not feel a calling from God to go reach these masses and be something that we aren't. Be misinforming people on what the Bible says. Leading people to believing God knows what. We're not out here trying to bash the church we used to go to or anyone
Hmm.
that's gone there or the people in charge. That's not what we're doing. We're not doing any of that crap. We're not. I'm trying not to curse too, because I curse a lot. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. But I just didn't want to make that clear because some
Hmm.
people are gonna come on here maybe thinking that we're just gonna be Dan and Ali are just gonna talk crap about so and so. We're being mean about so and so. That no, church is. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for attending
Hmm.
church. I wouldn't have known Daniel. I wouldn't have known freaking all my other friends that I hold close to my heart, people that have helped me in my life in so many ways in great pivotal moments growing up. So I want to make that clear because I'm not trying to be a YouTube preacher or they didn't give me this shot at church, so I'm gonna go and do my own thing. We're gonna have people on bashing church. No, there's one thing if someone wants to, say their experience, use
Hmm.
colorful language,
Yeah.
whatever, that is fine. That is a-okay because that's their experience. I'm not denying nobody their experience.
Yeah.
The same way,
Absolutely.
yeah, the same way we want like people who've maybe experienced some type of church hurt, whether it be a regular church member or even a pastor. That's the type of
Hmm.
range we want to like talk about. People we want to
Yeah.
have on an interview, as well as just touch on different subjects in church culture itself.
Yeah.
We're not, we could dive into religion, but we're not just going to be aimlessly doing it without numbers, facts, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's like this is why it's the most main important part to me because I don't want to just be like, oh, look at Ale and Dan. They're who because we're not
Yeah.
going to use names for like most of our like experiences unless we're cool with them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want it to be like, oh, you hear they're talking about, you could tell they're saying about so and so. I'm like, bro, if you want drama, my bad. I have to like stutter a little bit so I can like not curse because I don't want to turn people away because oh they
It's okay.
that Ali guy he says bad words. He says this and that. Woo woo woo. I don't want to turn people away because of that because I get it.
Yeah.
I respect everyone. But
Yeah.
I don't, if y'all want gossip, y'all want drama, go watch, the Kardashian show. Go watch that, the Mormon show where all those Mormon moms are friends, but not really. Go watch Love Island. Go ahead and go do yourself that favor and
Yeah.
go do that. Because that
Yeah.
like don't get me wrong, it's gonna be entertaining, it's gonna be fun. There's gonna be some things like, oh snap. But like that's not the main point. Like grow up.
Yeah. No, no, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And thank you for sharing that, Ale. Yeah, like you said, definitely just highlighting certain points that you made. It's we're not self-appointed preachers or pastors or we're called to do this. Pretty much like Ale said, we're just a bunch of post, 20-year-old post-college students that just came out of just trying to figure out life. We're just here, just trying to see, like, oh, hey, what's the
Mhm.
direction that we can go? And then, of course, we are just here to make it a platform where people are welcome to share their experiences of what it was like going to a church or going and practicing certain religious, affiliations or communities and stuff like that. Like, we are here to establish like a foundation where we're going to be able to invite people that are willing to share their stories, that are willing to talk about some of the struggles, some of the strengths that they even received, going into church or coming out of church and stuff like that. And so we definitely want to establish a respectful community here because, like Alice said, like we're not here to talk trash about certain individuals or certain churches or certain religions because that's not what we're doing here. Like we are establishing a boundary of respect and love towards the topics that we speak on, as well as the individuals that we invite on here. Because, like Alice said, we'll be able to have some fun. We'll be able to goof around, as you can kind of already pick up from our character and our demeanor a little bit. But when it comes down to actually speaking on like subjects where it revolves like being open-minded and being able to respect what we're the other individual or certain topics that may be sensitive, like again, we're not here to bash on anybody. We're definitely keeping names out. We're keeping names of churches or communities or anything like that. We're not here to gossip. We're not here to throw shade or nothing like that. We're too grown to be doing that type of stuff anyways, but so if you're in your mid-20s and you're still doing that stuff, like I recommend therapy. Please, like, go find a hobby or do therapy because we're too grown to be talking shade and all that stuff. But
if you're like,
yeah,
the only way you're cool with the drama that you want to hear cheeseman and gossip, you got to be a teenager or you got to be an old lady with nothing better to do. Like, there's no in between.
right,
There's no excuse for anyone in between. Also, I
right,
hope to
right.
pick up, my production quality. I got my camera here, but
Bro,
I got to get more, a little bit more equipment, just a little bit, and then I'll be able to be right there with Dan. You see him with the microphone locked in. We're
nah.
almost there.
Hey, you know what? There's always room for improvement here. We're not looking
What do
for
you mean by that?
perfection. We're there's hey, you take it how you want it. I'll rest my case.
Yeah, we're just gonna be gaslighting people this whole time.
Yeah,
Actually,
right.
So you sure that's not that you didn't take it the wrong way what they said? You
Right,
sure?
right. They're like, oh, so you're gonna do that? Like, oh, okay. Because if it was me, I would have done something else. But hey, that's just me talking, type of
Bro,
thing.
that's crazy. You're almost like 25 and you can't take accountability. Not me.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Hey, I'll just sip my tea and I'll just take a step back and you do you. But
No,
uh
no. I'm serious. We can't just
no,
joke the whole
but
time.
yeah, no, for real. But yeah, like as we said, we're gonna have fun here. When it's time to be serious, we'll be serious. But when it's time to joke around and to make light of certain things, that's definitely something that we'll do. But yeah, no, we're super stoked to really just be a part of this journey. Uh,
This is our third take, so like, we have an inside joke. I'm not gonna share it because it's just
yeah.
but no, be ready for a lot of stoked feelings around here.
Yeah, yeah. He just likes it when I use big boy words, so that's
Oh,
why he tries to make fun, but in a loving way. We
nah.
show. You said nah, nah. But yeah, no, we're totally excited just to be on this journey, see where it takes us. Hopefully, we don't get canceled. But yeah, we are definitely open to new opportunities, to talking with people, to share some of their stories, some of their experiences, as we will also be sharing our own within the next coming episodes. So we are super excited to have you guys here, and we just hope that you guys are just along the journey with us.
Dan, can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
What is something you want to get out of doing this?
Mm,
Like, that's a common thing that like I question about myself. Like, what do we, as in nature, as we're selfish people, not in a negative way. I can't think
yeah,
of a more
yeah,
like a better word. Sorry, limited
yeah.
vocabulary. But like,
Oh,
in to feed, like, I think about, like, all right, I want to feed my ego, my savior complex, to do
yeah,
that. But like, what do you
yeah.
actually would want to like gain from us doing this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Ale. Honestly, I guess just to simplify it is just closure. I think just having a sense of closure on topics that aren't speaked about. Uh, that aren't spoken on, whatever
Thank
the
you.
proper term. Thank you. But yeah, it's just one of those things where for myself and my experiences, which in the next coming episodes, I'll be able to share a little bit of my story. I'm a big advocate when it comes to mental health, and we nowadays we definitely have the opportunity to really speak on a lot of different subjects of people talking about their depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and a lot of those things I've struggled with myself. And so one of the big factors for me growing up was growing up in a religious background with my family, within myself, how much that had formed me and developed me as a person of and who I am now, and so that's one of those things where I didn't get the chance to really speak on a lot of these subjects until I was already towards the end of my college years. And I think because of everything that was just bottling up when I was a teenager, going into early adulthood, there were a lot of questions, there were a lot of thoughts that I had that were not answered. It was just more so kind of, hey, keep your mouth shut and, just do as you're told type of thing. And I feel like it's very important that we touch on subjects where we can be vocal about it. And I don't mean vocal as in like being disrespectful or, cancel culture, but it's just in the same way of how we can create an open space on vulnerable situations, experiences, topics. I feel like this is something that we hope to just kind of get out of this podcast is that we can be able to also talk about church experience, church culture, religious affiliations, backgrounds, and what that's like for individuals. And so that's really just my big takeaway is just having a sense of closure, having a sense of peace within yourself, and feeling like, hey, if I'm struggling or if I'm feeling like convictions or like certain dilemmas while practicing this specific religion or faith or going to this church, like hopefully with this you're able to take away that, oh wow, like he or she are also experiencing that just as I am, and just so that that you're not alone type of thing, as cliche as it sounds. But it's one of those things, when you hear somebody else who's the same race, who's the same who comes from a similar background as you, you do feel that sense of connection, like wow, like I can relate to that person because they're touching on subjects that I'm also experiencing or feeling or thinking about. And so I feel like that's really just my biggest takeaway with this introduction of this podcast. And just to kind of reverse the card on you, Ale, like what's your like biggest takeaway like from doing this podcast?
Honestly, I've been asking myself that for a while. I think I settled with the answer of not setting expectations. Not saying that's what you're doing, but like
Hmm.
not setting an expectation on it for myself or what comes after. Whether it
Hmm.
just be like two people watching, whether it be just more or anything like that. I I want to be able to give something in the sense of coming from a positive place to
Hmm.
hopefully be and see how the world may take out other people may take it,
Yeah.
whether it be they're like, all right, I'm gonna take accountability, I did that, this is why I did it, or the other way around, people finding closure, how you said.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm curious to see, I'm like intrigued by the I'm where this goes, where this path takes us, because I wanted to just be more than you see everybody has a freaking podcast nowadays. the
That's true.
this one girl, she was like a meme first. She was like, they asked her a question, and now she's like famous, viral everywhere. She has a podcast now too. I think she's like top 3 in the world. No, in the United States. The world's not that stupid. But I'm just like, for what? Obviously, there's me being a hater. Oh, we should have more views or whatever. Blah blah blah. Well, no, that's not. But I'm like, everyone has something to say, and there's people to listen, and I hope that we reach an audience that we're tapping into people who do are searching for something like this, searching for entertainment as well as oh snap, this is something good. This is something that I've never thought about, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, those are really good points and just kind of takeaways of, however the viewer just interprets this, you can, as much of like a hope and certain expectations that I might have or Ale may or may not have as well, you know, take away however you feel, from this, whether if it's entertainment, whether if it's closure, whether if it's just, hey, like I'm on my 15-minute lunch break, let me just see what these guys are rambling about type of thing. But yeah, like it's not really more so for a publicity or seeing who can get the most views or likes or
Nah,
competition.
y'all gotta
No.
like and subscribe. Y'all gotta make sure leave a comment, share it with your friends. We want to do this as a 9 to 5. Nah, I'm playing.
Yeah, right. We're gonna start clickbaiting and we're gonna do the thumbnail where it's like us being so like exaggerating
Don't let us get
and
to 50
expressive.
subscribers. We're gonna have about like 5 ad reads, each
I
like
know,
5 minutes long. We're going crazy. We're making sure we're paying these bills. We're making sure the equipment gets leveled up, graphics get leveled up. You name it. We got to
Hey,
make sure we're locked in. Money chasing,
honestly,
bad chasing. All we
bag
care.
chasing here. Yeah, no, honestly, in this economy, y'all, you know what it is. The struggle is real. We both come from a Latin background. We didn't grow up rich, so yeah, it's a struggle.
Wait,
But
hear this, Dan. Life is like a
yeah.
sandwich. No matter what, the bread always comes first.
Oh,
Get it? Get it? Because the
come on
Breaking Bread
now.
podcast.
You're done. We're canceled. We're canceled for that.
Bro,
Yeah, they're like, no, we're done. They're gonna click away by this point. No, I don't blame you.
I
I'm
hope
just
we
kidding.
get big enough to cancel. I'm not gonna lie. There's some
Oh snap.
there's selfish ambitions too. On top of the primary intentions. There's that, but that's what we're talking about. Different things that are
Yeah.
like why life is like that. Tap into maybe
Yeah.
our psychology when me and Dan took our class together back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, like a couple years ago.
I know, right? Yeah, before
Yeah.
COVID and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, honestly, like that's, people are gonna have their different opinions. People are gonna have their different says on like what we talk about. But at the end of the day, hey, you can't really in my opinion, in my thoughts, like, who are we to question what people experience and what they think? It's just
Yeah.
kind of one of those things of like, hey, we're here to have an open-minded conversation and talk about people's experiences, our viewpoints, how that changed over time, and how that developed throughout the process, during and after. And it's just one of those things where it's like, hey, it's my story, or it's your story, or their story. It's like, who are we to say?
I'm not gonna lie. I think a big goal I would have too, on top, like don't get me wrong, primarily focusing on like regular people because that's what we want. That's
Hmm.
the thing. I would want like a goal would be to have like a pastor on, like a legit
Hmm.
pastor, not none of you YouTube pastors, not none of you freaking clickbait pastors, not none of you self-appointed pastors who did not get their spot
Yikes.
and now are salty, who
Oh,
thinks they hear the word of God but needs to go seek professional mental clinical help. Not those. Sorry,
oh,
I had to clarify. My bad. An actual pastor. So they've been, imagine people walking out the door, seeing people who love them become freaking like talk crap about them online. Like that's something that's interesting. That I don't know that selfishly that's like intrigues me. That very much intrigues me. Just as much as because it's just a perspective you don't hear about.
hmm,
Like not to say
yeah,
like anyone else's like point is like life or experiences aren't as valuable to listen to because that's the intention of giving people who don't have that kind of outlet as a pastor would, their platform,
yeah,
their ability to here's your however long our interviews go, your opportunity to say what you need to say. I also want to hear the other side, maybe give people an opportunity to hear what others have to say, and hopefully we keep doing this enough to get that, but we'll see, we'll see,
yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah,
Well,
no, I mean,
mhm.
well said. Just overall, it's just kind of maybe our viewpoints will change the more that we do this too, because right now we might have a certain mindset of like how we want to do things, who we want. But then, maybe there will be people who are open into like just sharing their experiences, whether they're pastors or current individuals going to church or people that don't go to church anymore. It's just one of those things where like we're just open to it. I think
Mhm.
that's just kind of like the root of it, is just having an open minded and just connection with people and just different communities. And I think that's just like the goal, like just to best summarize it on my point.
Yeah. How do you feel, Dan? Would you want to have like a pastor on? Would you want to have someone in that position? Maybe not even just the pastor, but in general, aside from the regular people we want to give the voice to, but like
Yeah.
the other perspectives. What are your thoughts on that?
No, yeah, I most definitely, I think everybody has a valid opinion and experience just overall. It's just like you mentioned earlier, like people who are in a position to lead a church, or to lead a group or a community. I'm sure that they had to go through a ladder of different obstacles and experiences and decisions, where it's just like, man, from an exterior point of view, like, oh, they're just placed in that position. But a lot of times, even myself, and I'm sure yourself too, Alid, that we don't see what's going on behind the scenes, before they were in that position, or during, and so it's just one of those things where it's just like, I'm definitely that person that loves to nitpick like conversations and just really understand, people overall, and just seeing like why they do the things that they do, type of thing. And
Mhm.
so I'm open to really having people who are in a higher position of leadership, whether it's like pastors or people that lead a Bible group, or just anything. I think that
Mhm.
really just widens our range of like who we reach out to, other than just our local friends or people who we went to church with, um, or acquaintances. I think it's just one of those things where it definitely opens up that door even more, because maybe hopefully, if we do have somebody who is in a higher position, maybe whoever is watching is in that position, or is reaching to get in that position of leadership. And maybe it would give them some insight as well too, of what they're
Mhm.
walking into, or what to kind of look out for, and just kind of takeaways from that. So I think it also just kind of expands on the range of people that we're trying to reach out to. So,
Aside from interviews, what are different subjects you would want to like tap into? How we said earlier about church, the church culture, the church
mhm.
community, different subjects like that, how we aren't going to be theological
Yeah,
or faith based. Not to say that we are like straying away from it or avoiding those conversations, but
yeah,
we aren't qualified, or how I said earlier, not to get into another rant, but we're not those. That's not what we're aiming for. What do
yeah.
what's a subject that intrigues you for us to talk about?
Yeah, no, I think topics that I would really like to go into is just uh, the things that are happening, or the things that happen during the times that we went to church. Like, for example, like church jargon, or things like other matters of like what it's like, returning to a church of individuals that you haven't seen in a while, or like interactions of old people that you used to go to a church or attend some type of like faith-based community, like what that is like afterwards. Because not to expand on this topic so much, but it's just one of those things where uh I before like going into college, like transferring and transitioning into that new life, me being the first to leave home and going to a university, and just seeing like, wow, like the people that you thought that like you grew up in that community, but then the moment when there's like a pivotal moment in your life that changes, how that changes the relationship, or how that changes your viewpoint of that community, or that culture, or that what you were taught growing up. And so I think there's a lot of different topics that we can really like dive deep into, that I would be intrigued. And I'm sure over time there will be more that we can even talk about. And just to kind of return that question back to you, Ali, like what's something that you would be interested in talking about, aside from what we've already mentioned?
I think to circle back a little bit, for those of you who don't know, church jargon is like we always talked about it. And we like gave it that label of like,
Hmm.
for example, imagine yourself as a new person coming to a church, never
Yeah.
experiencing any form of religion, like Pentecostal Christianity, any other sorts of that, or going to Catholicism. Trying to use my big words here.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
and then you hear them talking about the fire of God that's in you, or turn away. Like I can't think of it since I'm on the spot, but something along those lines. Yeah, you're like, what fire am I like? They
What does that
speak
mean?
it. What does that mean? And then that alone, that's something that always intrigued us because we're like, how do people who don't understand take leave with something and apply it to their everyday life of being with God, of wanting to assimilate into that religion? How do they carry themselves? Because like, what, you got heartburn? Come on, again, not trying to be disrespectful, but like,
Yeah.
there's just certain aspects that need to be explained more. And I'm like, are you just repeating what you've heard of people say and this is the way they talk, or are you
Mm,
actually giving something to people? Are you actually saying something profound and moving where they could, what is it? What's like, letting God talk through you? Are you actually allowing that? I
mm.
guess that would be another piece of like church jargon, but like it's more like I think people understand it more than like a fire or a light or something. Like
Yeah.
if it's a song. I also like music too. I don't know if I sent it to you or you sent it to me.
Mm,
There was this like TikTok video where the guy is like, "Yeah, Christian music is bad nowadays, not because we want to like assimilate to what other people are doing, secular music,
mm,
but because they need to make it so basic, so however, so they get the plays it from the church, so they can be
mm,
able to get because the random kid in Idaho trying to play guitar for his church of 20 isn't going to be able to play some extravagant thing on that some guy performed in a big studio with an expensive guitar.
mm.
That's something. Oh, that's another interesting point to just talk. Be able to
Yeah.
bring up and everything.
Yeah. And one more thing as you were talking, I think another topic of conversation that I would really like to go into is uh like the dilemmas or the convictions for someone who does believe in a certain like faith or certain like spiritual walk or church or religion, like the stigmas around the church culture and affiliating with other individuals who aren't a part of that. Because I think that was really something that myself and I'm sure Ale have experienced where, if you affiliate with someone that doesn't believe in the same thing as you, you're kind of told or you're taught to see them as an outsider or see them as someone that's struggling. And for me personally, again, not trying to go on a long tangent, but that's something that I've experienced growing up. But now my viewpoints have changed the older that I got, to be able to be okay and just to even love people that don't believe in the same thing as me. Like it shouldn't come down to me being in a position that I'm above them or that I should be judging them or ridiculing them or condemning them to believe in the same thing as me. And I think that that's something that is very heavily like just influenced upon in a lot of churches and a lot of religion, where it's like, hey, you can't do certain things within the world or you're looked as an outsider. And I think that's also like another topic of conversation that would be really good at getting into as well.
No, I agree. I think I'm thankful that I've never felt that conviction. I was just like, it is what it is. I think
Mhm.
because part of it too, I'll probably expand on this like later on, but like I'll see people in church do random things all the time, like things that oh, we're not supposed to do this, but I'm like, what about y'all doing that? You
Mm,
know, again, there's not me trying to bash nobody or anything, but I'm like, bro, come on. I think the only thing I'll be bashful about is YouTube preachers because oh my, I think just they get hyped up too much. And like whenever something's hyped up too much, I start being a hater. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be 100% honest because that stuff just annoys the life out of me because like it's biblically inaccurate. I will go in. I cannot wait for like when we talk about that example.
Yeah, I was about to be like, hold on now. It's just an intro video.
It's like it's blasphemous. I would just go as far as saying that. That's how like I am like completely against it. You're living as an oxymoron. Like you're the inverse of what like whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it's just that I never felt any of that like conviction,
yeah.
thankfully. But like being able to talk about like in a way you see expectations be different for
Mm,
like I always felt like I was always had like we get into this later, but there was a different expectation on me while someone else is going doing God knows what. I'm like, for what?
mm,
Bro, I'm a
yeah,
kid. I'm a freaking
yeah,
kid. I'm like, y'all are grown.
yeah,
And now I'm thinking of more examples as we keep talking about it, like
yeah.
role
No, yeah,
models, leadership roles, things like that. Like we
yeah,
wanna, because Dan, we would primarily like right outside of these interviews. Because like one day we're not big, ain't nobody dying to come on our podcast. No, we don't got a line forming. So there's gonna be a time where someone cancels, something happens. We're like, all right, we gotta lock in, figure
yeah,
out what are we talking about today because we can't. We're trying to do this weekly, hopefully
yeah,
well, what are we going to talk about? What are we
yeah,
going to bring to the table and not just start rambling random stuff? It's different
yeah,
than in like how I would do a basketball or something because there's like the material to go off of. There's something
yeah,
tangible, but here it's more like we gotta cook more in depth.
yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. We gotta set up, cook, and leave no crumbs type of thing, you know. But uh but yeah, you know,
You're
like I'm
stupid for that. Yeah, don't worry.
bro.
Our theme is the damn bread. Wait. One
Yeah,
last
there you
question, Dan.
go.
One last question, Dan.
No, yeah,
How
go
did you?
for it.
Why did you think of the name? Because I didn't have any input on the name.
Oh
I
man.
it was all Dan. I was like I like it. We'll
Yeah.
go with it. What made you think of that? What deeper thoughts went into it? Last question.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we'll try to make this quick. But honestly, I just one of my favorite shows is Breaking Bad. And I'm just like, man, how can we try to, find some connection, but it's like completely contrary. Like it's just like water and oil. Like it has nothing to do with the show. We're not talking about how to cook up drugs or how to sell or do a heist or nothing like that. But it just kind of rang well too. But I think also like to look more deeply into the title is just kind of like one of those things where, hopefully in addition to touching on a lot of different topics of like church culture or like religious backgrounds and affiliations and stuff, like I feel like we're just kind of parting ways with a lot of the things that we've experienced, and we hope that like with the people that we bring along too, like I said earlier, of just having like that sense of closure where we're like, hey, it's just kind of that space where we're inviting people, we're sharing vulnerable experiences, and in a way we're just kind of like sharing with each other like a good meal, like we're sitting down in like a Thanksgiving dinner and we're just kind of passing each other the bread or any other like little appetizers. But I just feel like it's one of those things where it's just like, hey, we're sitting down, we're touching on a lot of different topics, but it's just kind of having that sense of, like I said, closure and just being able to share with each other and just kind of parting ways from the way that we used to think and some of our old experiences and just being able to learn from it. And yeah, I think it just kind of rang well too. So
Wait, were you serious about the Breaking Bad part in the beginning?
no.
Okay,
I mean,
thank God. Because like when we're making the logo, I was sick when I'm like, bro, we can't do anything with these BRs.
I know,
But
I
yeah,
know.
but no,
For
I just want to
for
make sure that was a joke.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's yeah. But it's no, yeah, that's really just kind of like my big takeaway from that. But yeah, no, just overall, like, as you guys have probably heard from our long rants or like, conversations that we've already touched on, even just for this first introduction video, it's just kind of scratching the surface on a lot of different things that we're hoping to touch on and being able to expand more and being able to decipher a lot of different things on this podcast. As you know, this is just take this as your little sample, as you know, of what to expect
You
moving
say
forward.
that's so aggressive. Little sample.
Because I was gonna compare, I was gonna use like an analogy, but I'm just like, no, it's okay. I just kind of cut myself off, so
That's fine, because I don't know where you're going with that. But
it's
yeah,
okay. But yeah, take this as an example.
thank y'all so much for listening. Hope that we didn't bore you to death, that you stuck around for all 39 minutes now. You know, hopefully y'all come back for the next one, tell your friends about it and everything. Message us, we'll respond, like, subscribe, everything, you name it. Thank y'all so much. I'm Ala, this is Dan. Thank you for listening to the Breaking Bad podcast.
Peace.